Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham Yahushai, Bahasham Chakudash. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to the elect. And today I'm going to do this lesson. I saw the post. It was a post that was, I guess it was reposted by Trump. And the elder tells him I'd done a video on it. I didn't get to fully watch it. I'll be honest, I didn't get to watch it yet. So many videos going out nowadays. But the thought that came to mind, seeing that, right, was obviously, it's not by coincidence, especially when they, being a political figure, in fact, the president, and then reposting something like that, it's not a coincidence, right? And even prior to the elections, you had people that were warning, right, primarily Democrats and so on, saying, hey, this guy's going to become a dictator. Hey, some people are fearing he's going to declare martial law and X, Y, and Z. But he's going to do it, right? He's going to do it just at the right time. And so what these things are just little signals, right? Little glimpses here and there that, hey, this isn't something that's like out of my reach, right? I'm touting these things. And you had previous presidents that came in, into office more recently, and they didn't sort of leave that taste or that worry in the back of people's minds, right? I'd say the same that this guy Trump is doing into most people's heads, and that's because it's a form of priming, right? For people to, they're going to be messed up, but it's not going to be like it was an impossible thing. Right. If anybody was to do it, people understand that, OK, it makes sense that it would be this guy because that's his spirit. And that's one of the reasons why the Lord put him up in there. Right. To be that face, obviously, which those that are on high. Right. The higher ups who send the orders down the chain, even up to him. They could use him. Right. To accomplish a lot of different things. And the Lord is using them to accomplish a lot of different things. But what I wanted to get here is in the book of 2nd Ezra, the 4th chapter and the 37th verse, because we're getting very close to this time of great judgment. And similar to how the Lord has showed us these judgments by way of opening up our eyes and our minds to understand the scriptures, be able to decipher it and piece it together to understand when the visions are going to come to pass. It's likened on to back then when the prophets received these visions, and in particular dealing with the prophet Ezra. He was very curious to know more than just the vision or its meaning, but when, right? When would these things happen? When would the evil happen? When will the good happen? Like you're showing, from his perspective, you're showing me all these things. How? When? So going into 2nd Ezra, the 4th chapter, I'm actually going to start up at the 33rd verse. Then I answered and said, how and when shall these things come to pass? Wherefore are our years few and evil? Because remember, the angel was showing Ezra a great deal of information was being revealed onto him. But a good portion of that also pertained to the tokens or the signs of the end, the very end. And keep in mind, there's a whole lot of things that have transpired since Ezra received these visions that he wrote down to now, where they're now starting to take place. And he answered me, saying, do not thou hasten above the Most Highest, for thy haste is in vain to be above him, for thou hast much exceeded. So you can imagine from Ezra's perspective, hearing all of these things, he definitely was very curious. He definitely had a lot in his mind. And he was already vexed, as he mentions, seeing the condition of Israel and the heathens having the upper hand and being in captivity. It's just like, a lot of things weren't sitting right with him. Verse 35. So the angel continues to tell him, right, basically relax, because regardless of what you do, You don't want this to happen more than the Most High. But the Lord is bound by his word. He has set things to happen at appointed times, and he's not going to change that. So you want it to happen, but you best believe he wants it to happen more, but everybody got to wait. Verse 35, did not the souls also of the righteous ask question of these things in their chambers? So Ezra wasn't the first, and he surely wasn't the only one to feel this way or to even ask. And we feel this way at times now, most of the time, because we know what it is that's getting ready to happen, and we know what's to come after. And the chambers here are like today, your dwelling places. And we constantly beseech the Lord, sometimes more when you're in a position of difficulty. Sometimes you just get very vexed. So there's some things that trouble you that you can overcome. And there are other things that trouble you and lead your mind to a point where it's more than just the problem that's currently vexing you, but it's the fact that there's a system that's set up that you are in, a world that you are in, that ends up resulting in cases like this happening, to where you have to be subject to this. Like, I'll give you an example of what I'm talking about. Let's say you go to work and something happens and your manager is just being a pain in the butt that day, and you are also having a rough day, but it's just you're subject to having to endure and then listen to whatever this BS is that they're going on and on about. And so you may be vexed, and on a usual day, that may happen. You go home, you forget about it, call it a day, do what you got to do. But there are those times when those things just, you get so stressed, you're just like, and then your mind is now stressed, not at the situation itself, but the fact that you're subject to this, the fact that you're still in a society where this is what you have to deal with, knowing the prophecies, knowing what the Lord is going to bring, knowing the position he created us to really be in. You get into that spirit of asking and inquiring and seeking, like, Lord, when is this going to be over, right? When are we going to have that promise, right? When is this wicked society going to go down? So Ezra wasn't the only one feeling that way, as the angel is explaining to him. Neither are we, and neither were the men that came before us that were in this stead. So I'm going to read verse 35 again. Did not the souls also of the righteous ask question of these things in their chambers, saying, how long shall I hope on this fashion? Right? So how long, and this fashion being this thing, right? This one very main thing that's recurring in my mind, and I'm continuously waiting for and hoping for, which is, to sum it up in one word, the deliverance of us, right? The deliverance of Israel from not just captivity, but from the state of you can call it mortality, or these chains of darkness. How long shall I hope on this fashion? When cometh the fruit of the floor of our reward? And the fruit of the floor of our reward is likened unto if you harvested and then you threshed, right? That's where the floor comes in. You threshed the crops or whatnot on the threshing floor, and then what comes of it, which is what you're really looking for, is what you would gather, right? But long story short, the reward that we're laboring for, right? There's a reason why we're working. So there's going to be a reward at the end of it. And you eagerly await that, but sometimes you wish it to be sooner than not. And onto these things, Uriel the archangel gave them answer and said, even when the number of seeds is filled in you, for he hath weighed the world in the balance. So the answer to them was, when, in other words, when the time is right, right? The number of seeds being filled in you is reincarnation, right? Because the seed is the generation, right? When you have a man and he lays seed, right? He sleeps with a woman, and then, he releases his seed of copulation. He copulates. And then in turn, in process of time, a baby is born. That happens a certain number of times, right? And when it's specific to a person, right, the seeds in you is filled in you. If you have to come upon the earth 20 times before the destruction comes, which will come then with your reward, then that's 20 different times in which a seed is going to be placed into a woman, and then you're going to be born of that seed, right? And however many times that has to be upon the fulfillment of that number is when, right, the appointed time would be. So as the angel explained here, for the Most High, right, hath weighed the world in the balance. And what that means is that he has measured everything from time, right, events, ages, all of those things are there's a measurement the Lord has for them. Verse 37, by measure hath he measured the times, and by number hath he numbered the times. And we don't know what number he has given, right? So how long is America going to reign before the prophecies that are written of it being taken down come to pass? There's an actual set measure. There's an exact year, date, time that it's going to go down, because the Most High has set it up, right? So you can think of it like this: if the Lord said, rather than just randomly picking a date to say, like, I don't know, December 2025, if the Lord had, say, America is going to reign for, I don't know, 400 and somewhat years, and the 400 and whatever last year it is lands on December 2025, then that is the time. We just don't know how long the Lord has appointed, right? So we don't know the measurement the Lord has measured, or the number that he has numbered. It could be based on duration. It could be based on a measure of wickedness that they had to fill, right? Or it could be based on a combination of both. It could be based on whatever the Most High has used to measure it. But as the angel is emphasizing here, the Lord has measured everything, and it has its set time, and he doth not move nor stir them. So you can imagine if you had like something in a pot, right? When you stir it, whatever position it was already in is now going to be changed. It's going to move. It's going to get mixed up. The Lord doesn't do that when it comes to the order of prophecy and the events he has set to happen. He doesn't stir it and mix it up. He's not going to have something that is supposed to happen 10 years down the line happen now just because you want it to, because that's going to mix up the order of everything else. Because if something that's supposed to happen 5 years from now is to set up what's going to happen 10 years from now, and then the Lord decides to make whatever's going to happen 10 years from now happen right now, that's going to stir, it's going to mess up everything that has already been set in place to happen. See, so as it says, and he doth not move nor stir them until the said measure is fulfilled. So once it's time, then whatever is set to happen is going to happen. So I brought this out pertaining or bringing the point back to the whole Trump situation. See, speaking as a man, right, I see him doing a lot of things, being the guy who is the face of a lot of the trouble that's going to come to Jacob, as you're already seeing it here. And so he's going to do a lot of those things, but it's at the appointed time. It's not going to be sooner, and it's not going to be later. And so the Lord has said everything, right? Okay, maybe in this year of his reign, he's going to do that. In this month, he's going to have this happen. He's going to sign this. He's going to do yada, yada, yada. Okay, so just because it may not happen sooner than later, or it may not happen at a time where it looks like it's going to happen, doesn't mean that it won't happen. But it just means that that's not the time the Lord set it up to happen. So I have one more precept here. This is in the book of Isaiah, the 19th chapter, specifically dealing with the cruel Lord, right? In Isaiah chapter 19, verse 4, as it reads, and the Egyptians will I give over. Now in Isaiah 19, these Egyptians here in verse 4, right, is now dealing now with the modern day Americans, because America is likened unto Egypt in prophecy, as it's also written in Revelation, the 11th chapter, that this place is spiritually Sodom and Egypt. And so these people are spiritually Egyptians. And as is written here, that the Lord said he's going to give them over into the hand or the power of a cruel Lord. And that Lord would be a ruler over there, or a master, which today would assume the title of president. And so them being given over into his hand can manifest in many ways. One being that the Lord put it into the minds of a great amount of people to vote him back into office. And that in turn allowed them to be put into his hand and under his dominion. And a fierce king shall rule over them, right? And a modern day king is likened onto a modern day president. And his reign, his term, as you want to call it, is likened unto his rulership. And shall rule over them, saith the Lord of hosts. So this man has been appointed, right? The Most High is chosen and put certain people in certain places. And it's not just Trump, right? He's just in a very known position to a lot of people. But there are also a lot of different people the Lord has put in different positions, be it in the financial sector, be it in even just legislative offices, and even higher ups that the Lord has put in certain positions, appointed them to be in those roles, because they are all going to play key roles in bringing the remaining parts of prophecy to come to pass. Whether it's to sign a certain legislation, whether it's even engineers that are going to work on the technology that is going to be used in the fulfillment of these prophecies. That's why the angel mentioned that Uriel, right? The angel Uriel mentioned that the Lord has measured everything and numbered everything. Okay, and it's all, every single thing that's happening, even at this present time, is all working together. Whether whoever it is or whatever it is knows it or not, it's all working together to fulfill the common goal of the will of Yahweh Bahasham Yahushai. So now for us, right, it's just a matter of enduring, continuing to be diligent, continuing to sincerely serve the Lord, and waiting, because at the appointed time, the inverse now would be the same way you couldn't bring to pass what wasn't ready to come to pass. You won't be able to stop or prolong what has been said to take place or to happen. And at that point is when things are going to move very quickly, and there's going to be no stopping it or slowing it down. So it's just get with the program, right, and go with the flow. So with that, I'm going to end it here. Lord willing, that was edifying and informative to the elect. In closing, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham Yahushai, Bahasham Recha Kudash. And until next time, Shalom.